So you are at Staples and you want a cheap office chair. You want a cheap mesh office chair. You want a cheap mesh office chair that has a high back and headrest. Well, you're in luck because we're going to review the Staples Hyken chair. And this chair, which is under $200, we're going to talk to you guys all about it. So without further ado, I want to sit down and give you the rundown. First thing you already noticed is it has a mentioned support system throughout the whole chair, including the headrest. So I sit on the chair. It's a decent mesh. It's not a great mesh. I can feel, some aspects of this mesh could be giving way. It's not really conforming the way the mesh from some of the higher end brands that you'll see from, for example, Herman Miller or Haworth or something like that. So it's okay. Again, we're talking about under $200. What's terrible is these arm pads. These arm pads are absolutely terrible. They're very firm and hard and uncomfortable, and they have no responsiveness. Even the shape of them are ugly and uncomfortable. So there's that. You have the button for the height adjustments on the outside, and you can adjust the heights. And it's plastic on plastic telescoping. Feels super cheap. I could probably imagine this within a few months, getting the plastic wearing out and causing some more friction as little particles get caught in there, and maybe even dust increasing this. They do have a numbering system here so that if you want to know where exactly you're putting the arms at, so if you want to look at that, but no one really looks. People are generally able to tell when their arms are imbalanced. It's pretty easy to tell. In addition to the mesh, because their mesh is not really that responsive and supportive, they had to put a very big foam piece here at the front edge of the seat. And that foam edge is pretty decent. It's a good foam, for now. Who knows, in a few months that might crumble away and then you're basically sitting through the mesh on hard plastic at the edge of it. We do have a tilt lock here. Let me see where that is. It is activated through this very cheap feeling plastic lever. And actually it's pretty flimsy. I could probably, if I wanted to, if I was angry or if I by accident forced it, I could probably break this pretty easily. Yeah, it's not that durable. So right now, pushing it down locks it. So now I can no longer lean back. Let's see if I can lock it at different angles. Yep, you can lock it in any angle that you wish. Just while you're leaning back, activate the tilt lock, and then the chair stays back. The tension control is here through this big clumsy tension knob, which actually is not very gripping, and it actually my hands can slip. If my hands were even a little bit sweaty or they were wet, it would slip right through. But for now, I could probably control it, and it's very annoying because I have to reach in between my legs like this and bend over while I do this to increase or decrease the tension. The other side has a very simple, same kind of cheap lever that's thin and plastic that could also break for the height mechanism. Now, what's interesting is the height range for the cylinder is not that big, but it's a decent cylinder, responsive. You have this plastic polymer silver frame base, and you have these little black end caps to add a little bit of accents, and these super cheap casters that haven't been used since the 90s. They're even cheaper than the standard carpet casters that some of the higher end brands put. I could easily see these hitting the edge of a firm table or something solid and then breaking. So very cheap casters. And then here the whole attention grabber is the headrest here, which simply does not go up and down, but does pivot on an axis. So you're out of luck if it's too tall or too short, because you'll only be forced to try to get it at the angle that it's at. And then the final feature I want to show you guys is there is this very simplistic adjustable lumbar that moves literally maybe 1.5 inches, and I actually didn't even feel it the whole time. So I don't know how much support you're getting from this actually. As you can tell, it's a very cheap plastic polymer. Even the plastic, you know, there's grades of plastic polymers. This one's already getting scuffed up very easily. That's because, you know, as you go up in the levels of plastic polymers, there's ones that are going to scuff much easily and show more wear and tear instantaneously if they're cheaper, or they're going to probably be able to take a little bit of a beating. This is not one of them. But again, you're only paying under $200. I think it was $190 some. With taxes, it ended up being $200 some. I've seen worse chairs for $200, but you know, again, if you're looking into the secondary market, you're probably getting a better value, a better deal for something that's a much higher quality. At $200, there aren't many chairs that brand new that could give you something of superior quality. So it's understandable if you're using this for a temporary purpose. So I mean, something like this, resale value is probably close to $0. I mean, someone that's gonna get it used after a year or 2 years, you may get 20, maximum 50 bucks out of this. Sometimes, you know, if you're lucky. But for the secondary market, for some of the higher end chairs, for example, Herman Miller, Steelcase, Haworth, Knoll, those chairs, even after you buy them used at $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800, you're going to be able to sell them for hundreds of dollars even after use. So they retain a lot of their value, especially after you've bought them set in secondary market and they've already depreciated. So that's my biggest qualm with these Staples and Office Max chairs that you see out there. They're going to be very cheap, but at the same time, you're going to be losing a lot of money. And if you care about, you know, asset depreciation and also maybe long-term durability, I can see this chair probably not lasting more than a year or two, at least comfortably. For us at OfficeLogix, our experience is the easiest customers to sell are the ones that have already tried chairs like this. They've come in, they've tried chairs like this, and I always tell them, you know, when you buy a cheaper chair, one of two things are going to happen. One, your back is going to break, or the chair is going to break. So I kind of boil it down to a little catchphrase, which is either the chair will break or the chair will break you. That's something that people want to consider. A lot of people, after long periods of times, they will test chairs like these all the time, and they'll come back and they'll buy, you know, one of the more ergonomic top brands out there. And sometimes they want to save a few bucks, so they'll buy it in the secondary market. Thank you guys for watching our video and for watching this review. If there are any other chairs out there that you want us to, or chair products that you want us to review, please put them in the comments below. We'll review them for you. And thanks for watching and supporting us.